We're ready to go.
We're ready to go. 21-day Purification program, take 1. Class 2. So successes and challenges. Erin was just sharing success of her mother. What was it you were saying?
She hasn't smoked a cigarette since the start of the cleanse. She made it 4 days without smoking at all, and now she's having only 2 a day. And she smoked a whole pack or more every day of her life since she was 15.
And then coffee, she drank how many pots?
3 pots of coffee a day. She's down to a half a cup. Once a day.
That alone, doing nothing else,
Wow.
will decrease your toxic load by billions. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Exercising still? Doing all your regular stuff?
Yep.
Good. Drink a lot of water?
Yep.
Fighting off any temptations that you've had?
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
Oh, peanut butter is so bad. And I broke down and had chicken once on an early day.
Oh, okay.
I needed it. I couldn't keep up with my
Yeah.
workouts.
Yeah, well, hey. Good for you. Let's talk a bit then, if we get into the toxicity. One of the things to note about toxicity is that in and of itself, our bodies are chemical factories. So we're constantly, each and every cell, I think we talked about this in the first class, was that each and every cell is a little living being, so it's pooping and peeing. And so that's toxic itself. But if we look at our world in general, how do toxins then enter the body from the outside? Well, and sometimes from the inside, but lungs. So we inhale, like exhaust, toxic fumes, secondhand smoke, air fresheners. Yeah, amazingly enough. They smell good, but they're toxic. Digestive tract, nutritionally, which you guys have been staying away from now for 8 days at least. Preservatives, additives, alcohol, trans fatty acids. Now this is where it can get internal. We get infections, and that can create toxicity within the body. Big one, skin penetration. Never put anything on your skin you wouldn't eat. That's what they say. But again, perfumes, lotions, hairsprays. The skin absorbs, and then it gets right into our body. It gets into our fat cells, and that's where the toxins are usually buried in the fat. We'll learn a little more about that today. And finally, cellular debris from physical, from injuries, inflammation, and by the way you're eating right now, and the cleansing you're doing, your inflammation load is dropping dramatically in your body. But the typical American diet will have our inflammation load be really high, really toxic. So these are all the different ways that the toxins can actually enter the body and how we can become so toxic. So how does the body deal with toxins? Well, it has 3 options really. Bury them in the body fat, deposit them in other tissues, and remove them. Obviously removing them is the best way. But if we become overloaded, then our body goes, well, I can't get rid of all this. So what do? First it goes into the fat. But once the fat gets full, then it starts going into other parts of the body. Muscles, tendons, ligaments, etc. The organs of detoxification. Most of these, you'll know, most people will say, oh, the liver's the detoxer. And it is, it's one of the bigger ones. But we also have the blood, the colon, the lungs, the skin, the lymph, which is kind of the drainage system of the body, and the kidneys. So all of those organs help you to detoxify. The colon, look at this. The average person today has accumulated 5 to 10 pounds of rotten matter in the colon. Yucky to think about, huh? And infirmity and sickness at any age is a direct result of loading the body with food which contains no vitality, at the same time allowing the intestines to remain loaded with waste matter. So if you think of yourself eating a whole bunch of garbage, but then not being able to get it all out, over years, that's what ends up happening. So a lot of the time, the toxicity can be occurring right in the colon, and it's not able to. The other crazy thing is once the colon and the intestines are blocked up and they're toxic, the liver won't dump the any more toxins into it. So then it's got to back up into the system. So what you're doing, as you're doing, especially since you've gotten through the 7 days now with the SP cleanse, that was the brunt of a big part of that colon cleansing portion of it. That's what the SP cleanse pills really, amongst other things, but they played a big role in that. How about the kidneys? Well, the kidneys, of course, filter fluids, and when they get toxic, it alters our calcium levels, and then it can start to create blood pressure problems. It causes our blood to be more acidic, and it also causes us to have incorrect water levels in the body. So we may not drink as much water as we should. We may drink, more than we need to. That's what happens in the tox. Okay, so lymph, the lymph system. Well, the lymph kind of drains everything. It goes right alongside the vessels, and so it drains a lot of the toxicity out of the body that way. But if it can't, then of course it's going to go directly into the tissues like the muscles and the fat. Poor absorption and transportation of fatty acids from the digestive system, and poor white blood cell transportation. What's the white blood cells used for? You know? Yeah, very good. They're our big immune player. So, you know, we start having them having trouble, and we're getting sicker more often. Skin toxicity. Well, our skin plays a big role. What's the largest organ in the body? The skin. It plays a huge role in protection, just general protection. So if it gets toxic, it becomes unable to protect properly, and we can start getting skin infections, etc. Less ability to regulate temperature. So a lot of our body's ability to regulate temperature deals with our skin, as well as the amount of fat we have in our body. We may not be able to sweat appropriately, and that keeps toxins in. We're less able to store fats and water in the skin, and then the skin is going to get kind of thinner as you see this as we get older. And then the outer layer no longer able to absorb the oxygen as well. So we get a certain amount of oxygen just from our skin alone. So with that concept, you know, we got to keep the skin free of toxicity. Oops, sorry. Go back. Lung toxicity. Yeah, lungs. You know, you think about if any of you have ever actually drank alcohol and, you know, too much. Maybe you haven't. God bless you. But if you have, I remember those days, and you could actually breathe and you know, realize, oh man, I smell like a distillery, for God's sake. Well, that's what, you know, part of getting rid of that toxic stuff comes through the lungs, so that the blood will take the toxins through, we get it out. So if we have lung toxicity already and they're not working well, we won't be able to get as much oxygen as possible. It'll create a weaker state in the lungs. It'll have inability to fully release carbon dioxide. Now we get too much carbon dioxide and not enough oxygen, we're in real trouble. And then chronic mucus congestion. So not able to clear the garbage out of there. Blood toxicity. Yeah, the blood, yep, you bet. Rancid cholesterol, excessive triglycerides, altered pH, which means that if it's going to draw the minerals out of the bones, it gets a bit more acidic than it should be. And so the blood has to have a certain, what they call a pH, or I don't even know what pH actually, the real meaning of it is. But it's the ability to be just perfect, not too acidic and not too what they call basic. When it gets too acidic, it's no good. So then the body says, well, it's too acidic. What are we going to do? Well, here, let's get some calcium from the bones. Let's get some magnesium from the muscles. That'll buffer it and bring the acidity down. Well, if we do that, of course, what happens to the bones? They get weak. Muscles start to spasm, get tired easier, things like that. Poor mineral and vitamin quality. Again, blood, in addition to breathing, you know, we breathe in the oxygen, then it attaches to the red blood cells and gets the oxygen to all the system. So the more toxic the blood, the less oxygen we get in the body, and then you can poor circulation. And of course, poor circulation, that's when people start, if it gets too bad, you know, things like losing toes and stuff. Now the liver is the big guy, so when we look at the liver, we talk about the functions of the liver. Well, one of them is detoxification. That's what most people think of. The other one is bile drainage, and bile helps us break down. It actually helps us emulsify fats to help our body break it down. It helps blood circulation and filtering the blood. It helps to maintain and regulate blood sugar. Very big. And synthesis and storage of amino acids, proteins, vitamins, and fats. So the liver plays just about anything that happens in the body, the liver has something to do with it some way or another. So it's almost one of the most, if not the most important organ we have in the body. Some would argue the nervous system. I used to be an arguer of the nervous system. I still argue that all systems are very important. But this one plays such a huge role. The liver toxicity. So if the liver starts jumping up, then we get, you know, problems with digestion and elimination. Again, we won't dump toxic stuff into an already toxic bowel, and then the liver gets toxic. Difficulty losing or gaining weight, high blood pressure, depression, repeated colds, flus, sinus infections, bad breath and body odor for no real reason. So bad breath, not because you ate a bunch of garlic. Hormonal imbalances, many times seen in women, estrogen imbalances, etc. Muscle and or joint pain. More signs of an overworking, fatigue, headaches, asthma. As you can see, the list go on and on. Just about anything that's going wrong in the body, people will benefit from making sure that their liver is going to be functioning well. And what you're doing in this cleanse is, that's a big part of it, is cleansing that out and getting it working much better. So those are all the different organs of toxicity. So everything you've been doing has been targeting getting those working and functioning much better. But now if we get back into the actual cleanse portion of it, the supplement regimen does change. I'm sure you're very excited about that because you no longer have to take the SP cleanse pills. Now those SP cleanse pills, as powerful as they are, taking 21 of them in a day is a lot. So what are we going to do instead? Well, we're going to add in the green food. We're going to add the green foods. So the SP green food, we're going to move to 5 capsules 2 times per day. That's the big change. Everything else is remaining the same. Still going to want to drink a shake 2 to 3 per day. And we're still going to be working on the gastrofiber 3 capsules 3 times a day. So we're going to continue to work through that. Ooh, but coming up, not right away unless you cheat. We got, you're going to be adding days 11 through 21 because we won't meet again until the end. That's when you start adding the free-range, antibiotic-free, hormone-free fish and or chicken. Average serving size, about 3 ounce cooked, about the size of your palm. And the total servings, 2 to 4 a day. That recommend that 1 to 2 servings, beef, fish, as long as it's wild-caught fish. Fish should be deep-sea fish, salmon, cod, and or sea bass. They have a high amount of fatty acids that are so good for you. So that's how you're going to continue to get, or start to get, more of your animal protein sources back. But what else we eat, of course, you're going to continue to eat a rainbow of colors, vegetables, vegetables and fruits, unlimited amounts of fruits, fresh veggies and fruits. Continue to eat frequently throughout the day and continue to have at least 2 to 3 SP Complete shakes per day. The thing about the SP Complete, just to make a point on those again for most, they do help to give you great usable protein, but they also have a ton of cruciferous vegetables like your broccolis, your kale, and those grab hold of a lot of the toxic stuff that your body's getting rid of and compartmentalize it and package it so it can get out of the body. So that's a big reason why the shakes are important as well, is just the fact that what we find is that if people don't do the shakes, they won't eat as much as they should anyways, and they're not going to get as much of the good stuff. So it makes it real easy to do that. Let's talk a little about weight loss support. One of the goals for, well, probably most of the folks who do the cleanse at least want to lose some weight. Some lose it, they don't even have to think about it, it's just gone. Others have a little bit more difficulty. So you may or may not fit into that category, but you may know someone who is fitting into that category. So when you look at weight loss support, one of the key components is completely removing, if you really want to lose weight, completely removing brown rice, if you've been eating it, and any other high carbohydrate vegetables and fruit. And we're going to give you a handout at the end of this that's going to show you different fruits and vegetables and their carbohydrate count. And you know, some of them have like 3 grams of carbohydrate per serving. That's very low. That means you're getting very little carbohydrates, very little stuff that will jack your blood sugar up. The other ones on the higher end can really start to play with your blood sugar. Now, if you've had issue with blood sugar, the problem is that's where insulin gets involved. And if insulin's out in the system too long, then our body will no longer burn fat the way it needs to. Cut back on fruit, sweet potatoes, and yams. And again, with the shakes, many times people add a bunch of fruit to that and they can become a little bit higher blood sugary. You can stick to berries because they have a very low glycemic index. They're also low in calories. Oop. Another option for shakes for people is that if it's becoming an issue with the weight, is just shake just the powder in rice, milk, and ice, or water and ice for that matter. So you get the nutrients. They're not going to taste as good that way. But you don't have to have elaborate fruit and vegetables. The other thing that we have available is a product called Coleus Forte. And it's an herbal product that aids in moderation of weight loss. So it basically it inhibits a bit the I just lost my train of thought on that. Your want to eat, whatever that word would be. Your hunger.
Appetite.
Yeah, appetite. Thank you. It can suppress the appetite slightly, and it also plays a role in helping the body burn fat a little bit easier. So we've seen some good results when people weren't getting good results with that. Again, if you are, no worry about it. Make sure you're eating small meals throughout the day. You don't want to let yourself get so hungry that you're overeating. Exercising, again, another big part of it is exercising, so you're burning the calories and you're allowing your body to utilize blood sugar easier and better. And drinking lots and lots of water, because water helps clear the system. So those are ways that you can support weight loss. There are a number of reasons why the body will hold on to its fat stores. Probably the biggest culprit is that hormones are stronger than diet and exercise. So if you take a person, for example, and you may know people like this, who for years have eaten such a way that, for lack of better terms, they've eaten tons of sugar their whole life. And what ends up happening with that is the sugar raises in the blood, and then the body brings out insulin. And the insulin helps get the sugar back into the tissues where it belongs. But as the sugar drops, the insulin starts to drop, but it drops slower over time. So many times what will happen is the blood sugar will drop, and because of what they ate was so sugary, it'll drop faster. And then it'll get low, but because insulin's still up, your body cannot create its own blood sugar from fat stores like it should be able to. So that leaves a person with one of two choices. Eat something, and usually they're going to eat something sugary again. Or their body goes into a stress mode. Because under stress, the body will make its own blood sugar, because it's that vital. So what we end up getting is, over years of doing that, people's insulin sugar system is all out of whack. So even if they exercise, their body holds on to fat like crazy, won't let it go. And they're usually not eating the same, they're usually eating the same way that got them there anyways. So hormones play the biggest role. We can start to work with those. How do we figure that out? Well, in the office we've got a couple ways we can do that. There's a tool called the it's actually the system survey now. And it's basically 211 questions that can point us in a direction of, okay, here's where your body right now needs the most help. The second, and even more specific, is complete a saliva hormone panel, and that determines if you have any of those endocrine hormone balances. So if after implementing the changes we talked about, if a person's still not losing weight, meaning changing up the vegetables they're eating and not eating any fruits, not eating any brown rice, if they're still having an issue, then that's when we recommend a wellness consultation, because there's got to be a reason why the body's holding on still through this whole process. Picture of the system survey, at least in part. Real awesome tool, real easy tool. We can figure it out in a real short time as to what your body's yearning for. So, I know in this crazy life we have, while we're detoxing, finding time to treat yourself and relax, embracing quiet times and having fun. Because right now your body's working kind of hard to detox. You might not think about it that way, but it's actually going through a lot of work to get rid of this stuff. So to find time to be able to give yourself some treats is a good idea. So, questions at all about anything you've had go on so far? The process? Seems like you guys are doing real well with it. So, yeah. Now, have you done it before, Sue? No, you hadn't. But you sat in on a class before.
Yeah, and then I was going on a trip. So
That's right. I remember that. Yeah. So week 2 challenge is take time for yourself. Walk, massage, quiet time, relax. And just keep doing such a great job that you're doing. And, bring up a great point. I'm glad Aaron brought up that, I got a little chicken. In the gist of it all, the way I look at it and the way Julie looks at it as well is, if you're doing all this great work, and then I just need it, and you have 1 cup of coffee, there is just no way that little bit can take away all the good that's been done. So be good, be gentle on yourself, be good to yourself if you make a choice like that. And then keep moving forward. Your mom's a perfect example of that as well. That's, hey, she's not back to smoking a pack a day, just 2 cigarettes a day, and that's only going to inspire her to do better. So our next cleanse meeting, the post-cleanse meeting, is Friday, September 27th. at 12:30. That's right here at Power Source. And what we do there is we kind of set you up to win post-cleanse. Because it's not just a 21-day program. It's the first step in a program that can make you be healthier and healthier, empower you to express life more fully the rest of your life.